This is a gathering of the cream de la cream of the Nigerian economic family. And economists are perhaps the most uncomfortable of companions. They are the ones you had to confront when you are at war with your own reality. But they are also the ones you embrace when your actions align with truth. Economists may not be miracle workers, but what they practice is a science that no nation can afford to take for granted. We are here. We are growing, and we are surviving because we have chosen, however imperfectly, to listen to you more than we listen to our fantasies. And so I join you today to acknowledge the depth of gratitude we owe this distinguished society. This edition of your annual gathering, while you rip apart the ideational complexities that govern our economy, from the struggles of the man on the street to the lofty abstractions of our macroeconomic rankings, is special to me. It comes at a time I am privileged to take my seat among you as a fellow of this society, to have witnessed in practice the trial of economic theories and their impact, to appel the weight of applying them as a policymaker, is to be reschooled in the discipline of economics beyond the walls of any classroom. It is to discover that theories are not merely tested on paper, they are tested on people, and every policy is a verdict on lives. This edition of your gathering continues your perpetual quest for answers. This year, we meet to rethink the strategies before Africa in a shifting global economic order. It could not have come at a better time. I must commend the President of the Nigerian Economic Society, Professor Adeola Adenikinju, and his team for challenging us to reflect on what decades of policy failures and vulnerabilities to global risks have created for Africa. I urge all participants to take their role in this conference, not as a scholarly exercise, but as a continental and national assignment, one expected to salvage Africa's economies from their fragile status. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we need not flog the dead horse that Africa has been left behind. While we are trapped in post-colonial realities and distracted by blame games, our peers in Asia and South America have been busy designing economies that serve as models for the world. Their stories teach us one lesson. Economics and politics are inseparable twins. Dysfunction in one imbibes chaos in the other. To be an excellent economist, therefore, is to master the application of context-specific solutions. Ours is not a pill of one size fits all. There's a reason many nations in Africa where they are expanding populations as a badge of honor, while others count their progress in GDPs. It is because for so long, we have refused to do the right thing. We have ignored our economists, especially those who understand the nexus between politics and economics. A continent of 1.5 billion people should be a horror story to all of us. Worse still, inter-African trade makes up a mere 16% of our global trade volume. Indeed, we know why we are here. This is no accident. What many developing nations on this continent have attempted is to reap where they did not sow. The progressing world is reaping the benefits of planning, of foresight, of aligning with the shifting global economic order. You cannot adapt to change without the infrastructure to do so, and neither can you compete with the world if you lack the resources. The cruel joke of history is that we slept through the first, second, and third waves of the Industrial Revolution. But today, in the fourth Industrial Revolution, we stand at a peculiar crossroad. The opportunity to lay the foundation of our economic future while simultaneously building upon it. There may not be a shortcut, but there is a bridge to leapfrog Africa's development. The knowledge economy, for instance, has shattered the boundaries of reality as we knew it. It compels us to rethink productivity beyond its traditional definitions. We live in a world where a random citizen in Daura can outsource his services to a corporation in Dallas without seeing the inside of a plane or leaving his bedroom. But to catch up with this changing world, Africa must embrace structural transformation that embeds its human capital and reverse unemployment. Poverty must be confronted head-on, for the promise of this continent to be realized in the lives of our people. There is no justification for the low per capita income that afflicts our nations amid the resources at our disposal. There was a study done by Comperi, a global consultancy outfit, whereby it is projected that by 2035, there will be 65 million global talent deficits. The United States, Russia, and Brazil will each suffer from 6 million talent deficits. And what is the population of Nigeria? Hovering in the neighborhood of 230 to 250 million. And what is the average age of the Nigerian nation? It's 16.9. We are in a position to harness our youth bulge and transform them into demographic dividends instead of the much feared demographic disaster that is expected to consume all of us. India in 2024 earned over $100 billion from business process outsourcing alone. The highest we have ever earned from the process of oil was $25 billion in 2011 under the leadership of President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Honestly, we have no business being poor, especially in this age of the post-industrial revolution. The time difference between Nigeria and Europe is plus or minus 2 hours. And there are more English speakers in Nigeria than in India. And with all due respect, I am not a racist, but I know my English is better than the average Indian English. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, hope springs eternal from the hearts of men and women. We have to harness our resources. But yes, we cannot hide from the reality. The threats ahead of us are real. Geopolitical conflicts, trade protectionism, supply chain disruptions, the energy transition, and the disruptive rise of artificial intelligence. They all paint a gloomy outlook, but each threat is also an opportunity in disguise. This is why a society such as ours exists, to light the path of a continent, even in the darkest night. This conference gives us an opportunity to rethink our development paradigms. Its theme provokes an all but unanswered question. Why are Africa's economic peers so far ahead of us in nearly every index of national development? The relevance and success of these days' deliberations will be measured by how boldly and honestly we engage this question. Nigeria is, of course, not exempt from Africa's economic tragedies, but our silver lining, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, is the listening ear of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Under his ebullient leadership, this administration has embarked on bold and inevitable reforms to address structural weaknesses that others before us only paid lip service to. These reforms testify to the power of political will in economic policy. Their painful but necessary consequences reminds us that a malignant disease can only be cured by painful surgery. The wounds are temporary, but the recovery is permanent. Our heart goes out to Nigerians. We know the pain they are going through, but the surgery is almost inevitable. the removal of petroleum subsidy, the alignment of the multiple exchange regimes, the new tax policy, the tax reforms. When we withdrew the fuel subsidy, we know the consequences of unveiling a masquerade. There was a former governor who narrated the story of his friend telling him that he is tired of making money. The fuel scam industry was a very big industry with humongous watches that can undermine any state. With the alignment of the multiple exchange rates regime, the opaqueness, while we were minting billionaires overnight, you don't need to go and engage in any productive activity. All you need is to know Dr. Sani Abdullahi Detijo, the deputy governor, for him to provide you with the apex. Do the round tripping and make billions overnight. All you need to do is to remit his own portion of the loot. But here we are, Nigerian companies, the Cadbury's, the Nestle's, the Indomie makers are now sourcing for their raw materials internally because it's much more cheaper to do. Let me cite you just one example. There is a company called Presco. A year ago, Presco's share was trading at about 300 to 400 naira. Presco's share grew by 247% in the past 12 months. And Presco posted a first quarter profit of 58 billion naira this year. That shows the results of the economic reforms. But we are not underlying the fact that things are hard. But believe me, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how long the night is, it must give way to the line of the dawn. Stormy, the weather might well be, but it won't rain forever. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the roads may have been bumpy, but our steps are firm. Consistent quarterly GDP growth, improved fiscal space, growth in external reserves, decline in inflation, stabilized exchange rates, and steady expansion of our infrastructure stock are gradually restoring investor confidence in Nigeria's economy. This is what happens when economies are not sidelined. Economists are very active in this business of governance. Professor Adeni Kinju, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, is an economist. He holds BSc Economics from the University of London and MSc in Economics from the University of Sussex, England. The Minister of Budget and National Planning is almost a genius. I take delight in embarrassing him at every forum. He holds BSc Economics from Usmanu Danfodio University, MSc in Economics from the University of Jos, and MA in International Affairs from Columbia University in New York. So these are all members of the same ecosystem. Jumoke Oduole has been in the economic ecosystem for the past 15 years. Yes, she's a lawyer. She holds LLB from the University of Lagos, but she also holds LLM from Cambridge and a master's degree in international legal studies from Stanford. And to cap it all, she holds a PhD in international trade and development from Stanford. That makes her eminently qualified to be the Minister of Trade and Investment. But most importantly, Dr. Jumoke Oduole has been the special advisor to the President on the ease of doing business for 10 years before she was appointed the Minister of Trade and Investment. The gentleman seated here, who was reeling out figures on livestock development, is a square peg in a square hole. He's a practicing farmer. He read agriculture from the University of Maiduguri. So, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I crave for your indulgence to give us the benefit of the doubt. We are determined to redefine the meaning and concept of modern leadership. Things are tough, but Top times do not last forever, but top people do. If Nigeria works, Africa works. If Nigeria fails, Africa has failed. 1 out of every 4 black men is a Nigerian. And by 2050, Nigeria will surpass the United States, will be the 3rd most populous nation on earth. And by the end of the century, when all of us here have become poor tenants in the home of the earthworms, Nigeria will be the most populous nation on earth. We have every reason to be proud, to be proudly Nigerian. You don't need a soothsayer to tell you that this is a Nigerian. When you meet a Nigerian along the street of London, he will not give way for the white man. He will walk majestically with confidence. We are a very swashbuckling, very proud. Yes, we are loud, so be it. But we are very confident people. I left Zenith Bank as a general manager. I became a commissioner. I did not step out of this country, not even to neighboring Chad or Niger or Cameroon, until I became a commissioner in 2007. Not that I couldn't afford to, but I never saw jumping into the same swimming pool with a white man as a rite of passage to the wall. I'm very confident, I'm very comfortable in my skin. I'm proudly Nigerian. And that's in the DNA of each and every one of us here. So we can make this country work. It's easy to criticize. It's easy to insult. But it's not easy to perform. I urge all of us to rally around each other to make this country work. And do not mistake me. We have never claimed this journey to be without storms. We have acknowledged the inflationary impact of our reforms and the spillovers from global crisis into our economy. But we are determined to do differently. What we are determined to do differently is never again to sideline our economic thinkers. This is why President Tinubu has remained committed to investment-friendly measures and social protection programs to cushion the vulnerable. Policies in transportation, healthcare, education, and agriculture have been deliberately targeted at reducing inequality because these are the sectors that affect the weakest amongst us. This is the mandate this conference has given us to find new pathways to solutions. The nation awaits your deliberations and recommendations. As the saying goes, if you sleep through the planting season, be prepared to harvest regret. I wish you fruitful deliberations and a rich crop of ideas for a nation in transition. With these remarks, it is my singular honor and privilege to cherish forever to declare this conference open. Thank you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.